SoFi investors, what's going on? My name is Jason and welcome back to the channel. I have some very interesting news I want to share with you about SoFi stock. Over the last several months, institutional owners have been selling the stock. Should you also sell? Stick around. All right, SoFi investors, let's get into the video. It's been an interesting couple of weeks for SoFi stock, right? Down 1% today, about flat over the last week. Over the last month, we are up 30%, which is great. 29.11% in the last 6 months. We're still up around 8%. Year to date, still down 10%. And over the last year, up over 75%. But from the peak of around $18 to where we're at now, we're still down around 30%. So why are we down 30% in this time frame from about middle of January to we're approaching middle of May? A lot of that has to come to do with institutional ownership. We're sitting right now around 51.1%. Institutions own around 564 million shares. But if we take a better look at where we're at, we peaked right around that $18 price target. I know it's hard to see, but this line right here that's through the bar graph is the stock price, right? And we were around $18. It kind of peaked right around here. Over the last couple months, we've seen considerable selling from institutional owners. That's why we've seen a retrace in the stock price, in my opinion, right? We take a look at this article from Yahoo Finance. We could see SoFi's short float has surged to 13.5%, a sign of declining investor confidence, right? So the company's insider sales have increased by 57.5%. So with insider selling, and we have institution selling, that's putting a lot of downward pressure on the stock, right? SoFi, however, did give out a good amount of stock-based compensation to a lot of its executive and higher level employees. But if we take a deeper dive into the numbers of this past earnings, it still looks pretty good. Record revenue over 766 million, and then I think the release at 771 million. But revenue is up 20% year over year. Like, in a very conservative environment from Anthony Noto and the team, still doing 20% revenue growth year over year is great. Operating expenses, however, are up. That's why the net income and net profit margins are down respectively. But earnings per share is up 123% over the last year. Right, so they're getting more efficient as a company. We did, however, see a decrease in net income from December 2024 to this last quarter. But when we zoom out, we see the trajectory of this business a lot more clearly, right? From 560 mil to 977 mil, 1.5 billion, 2 billion, 2.6 billion. So on the top line, we're growing about $500 million per year, which is extremely impressive. And the losses, from 21, 22, 23, we were getting closer and closer to breaking even. And in 2024, we had that first year of net income profitability of about $500 million. So what do we think about this selling from insiders and institutions, right? I think a lot of institutions with these tariffs by the Trump administration are getting a lot more conservative, right? So a lot of institutions, including myself, I'm trimming my positions and getting a little cash heavy because I live in California, right? And 35% less in imports coming in from China means that there's going to be, the demand's still going to be there, but there's less product. So that's going to raise prices, which is not a great thing for the middle class, in my opinion. I'm hoping this administration scales back on this trade war with China because I promise you it will not end well for the lower and middle class, guys. That's just the way it works. Tariffs are really just a tax on the middle class and lower middle class. And I don't think it's a good thing for this administration to keep pressing the narrative, right? But when we took a look annually, right, revenue's up 27%, operating expenses are up a little bit, net income's up huge, net profit margins up huge, earnings per share up huge. The business of SoFi is still doing great. And if we take a look at this most recent earnings report, right, set new records in members and products, added a record 800,000 new members and 1.2 million new products. Doubled revenue in financial services through rapid innovation. Expanded the loan platform business with over $8 billion in new commitments, man. This company is slowly becoming a big dog in the financial institution world, man. It's very, very impressive, man, what we're doing. Fee-based revenue of 315 mil is up 67% year over year, representing 41% of adjusted net revenue. It's extremely impressive. And as we get away from some other business models, this fee-based revenue is reliable, it's dependable, and you could really kind of predict where it's going to go over time once you get the data points, man. Tangible book value growth of 946 million year over year to $5.1 billion. So the book value of this company, and I love that for banks personally, is just growing and growing and growing. So I do think this sell-off by institutions and some insiders is just, I think the insiders is more just people paying themselves. I wouldn't really look into that at all whatsoever. The same thing happened with Palantir. People made a big deal of it, and the stock has run up considerably over the last 2 years. But insiders to me is a little more concerning, right? We are definitely down off the peak, right? We have to keep an eye on this trend moving forward. And we have to keep an eye on GDP in the macro environment, right? Because if macro slows down, banks just kind of slowed down with the way the economy is running, right? So if GDP is going to be very low like it's projected to be, it's not a great thing for banks in my opinion, right? So what am I doing with my SoFi shares? I think anything under $10 is a buy for me long term. In this $12 to $15 range, I'm not necessarily jumping at buying SoFi stock in that $12 to $14 range. But I do think the company is continuing to grow. Member deposit growth of $2.2 billion for the quarter, bringing total deposits to over $27 billion. So the more deposits that we put into this ecosystem, the more this company can loan out that money and make a ton of profits for investors and the overall business model, right? I love what SoFi is doing. The brand recognition is really there. Official banking partner of the NBA, the G League, NBA 2K, naming right partners with the SoFi Stadium, the Rams and the Chargers. We just crossed 10 million members, which is a great accomplishment. I love seeing these little timelines that they do. I think that's extremely important. And the app is improving. I still don't think it's on the same level as Robinhood personally, but it's a one-stop shop. It really is. You could do everything on this app. I wish the investing part was a little bit better because I'm a Charles Schwab right now, and with those options, every options trade I make, they get a little cut of that. And that would be great for this business model to kind of get into a platform with more options and the ability to sell covered calls and sell puts and really expand on invest. Over the next year, I want to see that platform expand considerably. But this one-stop shop, they got everything: money, invest, credit card, protect, Relight, at work, platform business, personal loans, student loans, home loans. I mean, everything you need is in this app, guys. You could get a home loan. You can get a personal loan, a business loan. I love the trajectory of where this company can be 5-10 years down the road. And don't be surprised if within 5 years, this is a $100 and $85 per share stock, right? I love this company. I think they're on the right trajectory to be a top 20, a top 25 financial institution here in the United States and around the world very, very shortly. So I'm not really worried about that, man. Look at the products, the members, man. We're almost at 11 million total members, and the growth is great, man. 3 million new members from 2023 to 2024. And then we added over 2 million from 2022 to 2023. We're growing consistently in the 30% range, which is extremely impressive, guys. So I'm not worried about that. They're guiding between 3.2 and 3.3 this year. They did 2.8. It's a really impressive what they're doing. And remember, these numbers are in millions, right? So the guidance is continuing to guide tons of growth, right? 320 million in adjusted net income is up considerably year over year. At 200 million to get to 320, we're talking 25%, somewhere in that range. I like what SoFi is doing, so I definitely think that this little sell-off that we're seeing right now is institutions just kind of tightening the belt a little bit. I know I'm getting cash heavy. I think a lot of smart investors are, just in case shit goes sour with the macroeconomics. I think tariffs are a terrible idea. I think most economists are on the same page with that. And getting in a trade war with China is not a great idea. It's really not, especially when you consider the majority of the big companies in America outsource. The way they get their products is from China. The labor's cheap over there. To do it in America at scale would be extremely expensive and not profitable for these companies. So they're either going to have to move to different countries. I just don't think that is a great way to run things moving forward. But it's better to be safe than sorry. Kind of playing this out slowly. I'm buying very slowly. Under $10 is a buy for me. $12 to $15, I'm just holding. I hold around 5,200 shares of SoFi. I would like to work up to 6,000, 7,000 if the price is right. I'm selling puts in that $9, $8, $7 range over the next 6, 12, 18 months. And I'm also selling cover calls in that $18 to $25 range over the next year and a half, 2 years. Because midterms is only a year and a half away. And if we can get a more balanced Congress, I think that the tariffs will kind of slow down a little bit. We'll have to see. But guys, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I just want to make you guys aware that institutions are selling right now. So if you want to get a little more cash heavy, I don't think that's a terrible idea. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Peace.